Hi, Leanne. Welcome to WOTBaby Conversations.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. So, we're going to have a conversation today about your twins and
Yes,
your journey with reflux. Um, so, you have Bailey, who's twin one, and Evie, who's twin two. Is that correct?
yes,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah. And they are at present, they're 4 months, but 2.5 months adjusted.
Yes,
Yeah, and I came to see you a month ago.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I just want to talk to you today about like your journey with the twins and reflux and, the fact that they were preemie, and what your experience has been. You have an older child as well, so you've done the baby thing before, but
Yes. So you just turned 3 years old on the weekend?
yeah, so you definitely have your hands full.
Yep, we sure do. Sure
So
do.
yeah, so you had, the experience with the bub, and now you've, with twins, so quite different, right?
Yeah,
Juggling.
it was a surprise. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And
So yeah, thought we were quite under control if it was just the one, but then two came along and weren't too under control, is what we thought.
it's so your eldest is three, so it's really three under three. That's
Yes.
real juggle.
Oh yeah.
And as well as that, Bailey and Evie were born quite early, so 6 weeks early.
Yes, that's right. Six
Yeah,
weeks early, so much to our surprise.
yeah.
Because we thought we would go a little bit further than that. But yeah, it came to the point where they came 6 weeks early.
We did well. They could have been much earlier.
Yeah,
So yeah, were they in hospital for long?
yeah, they were. Were both a bit like 2 kilos and a little bit over. So they were at a good size. But they were in hospital for about a week and a half in special care. Not needing anything in particular, but just because they were preemie and a little bit smaller than the usual to leave at that point.
Right. And then so when they came home, like tell us about your feeding journey, because today we really want to focus on the fact that your babies were diagnosed with reflux. Tell us a little bit about your journey in the beginning and how you came to the conclusion or your concern about the reflux. What was happening?
Yeah, so at first, like that first, they came home, and because they were a week and a half in hospital, they were on, um, uh, they ended up being on quite a fast flow teat when we left hospital. And then where obviously when you come home from hospital, you don't have the same bottles and things like that the hospitals do. So you've got to go and try and find something that will match. So after trying like the Tommy Tippy bottle and a couple of other bottles, we found the pigeon bottle in the slim neck that suited the hospital at the time, and the same medium flow teat that pretty much were put on from when we left. So they were already on that type of bottle.
Do you know why they were on a fast flow, like a medium flow when they were newborn in the hospital? Was there a reason?
Not really. They started off at slow teat. From what we were told, they had feeding tubes in first, and
Right.
then once they finished with the feeding tubes, they were on the slow teat. But then we just came to the hospital the next day, and they had been changed to more of a medium flow teat, which they seemed to be handling. Bailey more so than Evie at the time.
Right.
Bailey was drinking a lot more than Evie, and we like it, they said it's quite normal because like they're totally.
Bailey's your big. He's the biggest, isn't he?
Yeah, Bailey's the
He's
boy, and
quite
he's
quite bigger. He was well when I came to see you. Yeah, he was.
yeah, so he's still a kilo heavier than Evie,
Wow.
um, still to this point. But he's still like in from what we've been told from the pediatrician, he's still in the 75th percentile. So
Okay.
but Evie, she's in the 23rd percentile.
Okay.
So he said it is just boy and girl, comparing boy and girl pretty much, because he's got bigger features, bigger feet, bigger hands. So nothing too unusual there with the weight change
Yeah.
um, between the two. But so he was drinking pretty much out of hospital. He was already on 120 mils of formula. leaving hospital
Wow.
after a week and a half, especially starting with feeding tubes in. And Evie was drinking probably about the 60 to 70 mark, so a lot less already in
Which is a
consumption.
little bit more normal. Like this,
Yes.
when I say normal, I mean that's what you would expect at that
Yes.
early age. Yeah.
Yeah. So already he was like on a faster flow teat than we thought that he probably should have been on. Then it was a scramble to try and find something that's going to match now that we've left hospital.
Did they give you advice on what to get?
Yes, when we went back in to get weighed, which was 2 or 3 days later from being like leaving the hospital then, they said to get the best bottle to get would be the slim neck pigeon bottle and a medium teat to match what they were on here at the hospital. So we went and got that. So that was great. They took to it fine, which was good because we had tried others, like I said, and yeah, they took to it fine. Bailey was going fine, and we were more so like we did with our toddler now. We at the time we just followed what was on the tin pretty much.
Yeah.
Although like a little bit, like a couple of weeks behind with what the tin said because we knew they'd only just kind of started onto that. So they started off well. Their sleeping was okay, and we'll put mostly feeding on demand. So when we're feeding on demand, and then with twins, you do one, and then the next one would go off, and maybe like 2 hours later, and then you'd feed that. So it was a continual cycle, never really any breaks.
When they were
Um,
in hospital, were they feeding them together? Were they
no, separate.
oh, they were feeding them separate? So whenever they were just feeding them on demand?
Yes, feeding on demand, separate. They were close in time frame, but that's because they were just waking up at that point.
Yeah.
But when we would come to visit them, which was pretty much like from morning to night, we didn't stay overnight, but we fed them together in that sense where like my husband would feed one and then I'd be doing a nappy change for the other, because they were sleeping longer stints too, being smaller babies and
Yeah.
filling up their tummies quicker.
Yeah.
Um, but then that all changed obviously when we got home because their
So
tummies are getting bigger and
what happened when you got home? What started happening? How were the bottles going? The medium flow teats?
yep. So we when we got home, they were feeding on demand still. So sometimes 5 hours between feed to feed, 4 hours feed to feed. It just depended. And they started. Bailey was fine; he was coping well at first, and then but Evie started to get quite a bit of reflux in the sense of a typical reflux of you'd be feeding, and even on like for the first burp, she'd still be dribbling out formula. And even on the last burp, she would still be dribbling out formula. But it got to a point for Evie, like up until three months from when you came along. She's pretty much was projectiling milk out all the time, pretty much at every feed. We'd have a towel down under her head. Even if we got a burp out, she'd um, still milk to her head to the side, or even straight up. And yeah, it'd be a lot of milk. Like we would, at a guess, would have a whole bottle would have gone at one point
Right.
with one of them. And she was getting bad. So with Bailey though, he was dribbling like no tomorrow out with the teat that he was
Whilst
on.
he was feeding,
Whilst he was
dribbling
feeding, we
out
were
the sides
feeling
of his mouth.
yeah, filling a whole bib every feed with formula, filling a whole face washer. He'd go in the washing machine after every feed because he was just dribbling so much.
Yeah.
And to us, he just wasn't getting, for us as parents, we thought, why isn't he latching? Why is he not? Why is he struggling? Why is he struggling to drink all of a sudden? Whereas Evie, she was a guzzler and she was taking it and just couldn't keep it down.
Right.
So yeah, they'd go to sleep as well.
And it's funny because she was a smaller baby, right? So
Yes.
smaller babies do tend to take to the slim neck pigeon teats. So the slim neck pigeon teats are designed for, like, they work well with smaller babies. They'll
Oh, okay.
attach
Yeah.
better. So it's
Yep.
quite interesting that he's the bigger twin, and he wasn't quite attaching very well, but she
Yeah.
was.
Yeah, she was latching. Her latch was great, and we thought straight away, oh, Bailey's latch,
Yeah.
he must have lost his latch.
And so was he unsettled during the feed as well?
He was unsettled. He was irritable, fidgety. His hands were going. His head was moving around.
Yeah.
And for us, it was like, why aren't you latching? Why aren't you latching? So I was continually thought to myself, well, I'll go to the shops and go try it. So we tried the Tommy Tippy again. We tried um, like another style of a slim neck pigeon. We tried Advent. We tried Dr. Brown's. I had gone through so many bottles to try and find, and then
What were you looking for though? What did you recognize you needed, that you were trying to achieve? Did you realize that you needed to slow the feed down, or was it more the latch that you were looking for? Were you thinking reflux at this stage? What?
yeah, like of course you Google things and see community groups, go onto community group pages like on Facebook, and you see things come up that are similar to your child.
Yeah,
You think, oh, well, if
they
like
tried that.
changing a bottle fit, if they change this, then maybe it will fit. Like in my head, I was like, well, we can only keep trying. Like somewhere there's a key to the finding out what's going on here.
So you were concerned about the not latching for Bailey, the constant positing with Evie, and the
Yes,
unsettled behaviour during the feeds.
yes.
Is that what you were trying to change? You
Yep.
knew that wasn't sitting right with you.
Yep. We just because we had the prior experience too with
Yeah.
our older child,
Mhm.
and who was breastfed at first, but then went to bottle fed.
Yeah.
So she never really had a problem. We put her on the Tommy Tippy from the get go. She never had a problem. She'd drink it and burp, and away she went.
Right.
She was happy once she went to formula. Um, so we kind of knew what a happy baby was like, which
Mhm.
helped. And when Bailey was just so fidgety, irritable, wasn't latching, straight away the concern was, why isn't he latching? Like, what? Why isn't he not grabbing to this bottle like he should be sucking? Like a lot of the milk is getting wasted on the face wash. So how much is he really drinking?
Yes.
Maybe he's still hungry. So for Bailey, it was that. Plus, he's got a bit of congestion. And I thought, okay, well, the bottles aren't making a change with his latching. Maybe it's the formula. So with Bailey, we tried a lot, like different formulas. We think we went through about 8 different formulas. And
Wow.
when we're changing formula, we also changed Evie's formula because she was having the full real reflux, whereas for him, then we thought, okay, it's the latch. Maybe he's got a silent reflux going on with the congestion. So that's why we changed, like I said, changed the formula after trying to change bottles. So we went through about 8 or so
Make
different
any
formulas.
difference? Make any
No,
difference?
no difference. No difference in his latching, his what no difference in even trying a thicker formula for Evie with
Was
her.
that recommended to you?
This was just recommended through just trying to source like different options to try and find the key to
Why
trying to
they were unsettled, yeah.
why they're unsettled.
Yeah.
The GP suggested changing to a thicker formula for Evie, and also trying Infocol
Mhm.
as well, and Infant's Friend. So of course we tried those two as well for about 2 weeks for each. No difference
Difference?
whatsoever
No.
for either of them, because at the time too, with his irritability, we thought, Bailey, has he got colic as well? Like he's scrunching his legs up to his knees to his chest, when he's crying.
I think, and just to clarify there, I think all babies under the age, newborn babies under the age of say 6 weeks, they all have a varying degree of reflux and colic, and or is it the same, what have you. It is, all babies are born with a tiny, tiny gut that can only
Yes.
take so much milk, so they need to get used to taking an amount of milk as their stomach grows and expands. They're also, lying down all the time, and their tummies are very immature. So until they get that balance right and their tummies and their gut and their digestive system matures a little bit, it's really, really normal for babies to have some degree of reflux or colic when they're little. And then having babies that are preemie on top of that, then of course that's going to be. But there are things that we can do to
Yeah.
to help them,
Yes.
to help them with what is a normal developmental stage, and to help them with their feeding and things like that. So yeah, so changing formulas and doing all of those things, it can strip. Would you agree with me that did it strip you of your confidence because you were.
Oh, totally. Totally. Like, it was forever trying to find a key to, like, even with the formula, we thought, well, we can't just see a change straight away. We understand that. We'll stay on a formula for a week and a half to see. And with twins, it's change like a $45 tin every 3.5 days.
Right. And
So
thinking which one is having this formula and which one's having that formula. Plus, you've got a toddler.
yes.
I
And as well as that, they weren't sleeping. They were more catnapping, you could say. And to try and find the difference between day and night, I had them sleeping in the bassinets downstairs in the nighttime, and downstairs for the daytime they were downstairs all throughout. They were sleeping on the twin Z pillow, for me to try and, like, they've got to work out day and night, and so for us, my husband and I were taking shifts. I would do the night shift, my husband would do the day shift with our toddler as well. And thankfully he had close to 4 months off work to help with all that. But I think to myself, if he hadn't have taken that time, I don't know how I could have done it, because it was crazy tough with just staying awake all throughout the night to feed them, and with them being on separate schedules as well with demand feeding. You'll forever feeding, cleaning bottles, going back to the other one, nappy change. It was endless. So by the time, for me, when everyone went to bed at 8:30, 9 o'clock, I was still going until 6 a.m. the next morning, until my husband came to relieve me so I could sleep and he could start his shift. So on top of that was the reflux as well. So um, it was
hats off to
never-ending.
you, because it sounds like really hard work. And I,
Yeah, it
and I'm
definitely.
so happy that I was able to come in and help you find some sense of order to the chaos that was going on.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
it's only so long that you can, as a human, as a mother, as a parent, there's only so long that you can keep going like that before something's got to give. Um, it's, yes, you've got to be there for your babies, and yes, you've got to give them everything that they need, and be there, and it's a selfless act and all of those things. But we need to, as humans, we need to sleep, we need rest, we need order, we need all of those things, and sleep being the most important, because if
Yeah.
you don't sleep, then everything else falls apart.
Yeah,
Uh,
definitely. That's exactly the reason why, when it was getting to that 3 month mark, I thought, well, something has to change. Like, we've tried so many things, like
And
weaning.
even though they were preemie, you had been looking after them for 3 months.
Yes.
And when I came to see you, yes, your babies were preemie, and little Bailey, he kind of has those preemie features. Evie, not so much, but she was quite petite. but even though they're preemie, they might be at an adjusted, because they were how many, 7 weeks preemie, 6
6 weeks preemie.
weeks preemie, yeah. So 6 weeks preemie is in this day and age. Yes, it's preemie, but it's not excessively preemie. That they catch up quite quickly in terms of growth, and then on top of that, development. So when I saw them, yeah, they looked like they were closer to 4 months.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
particularly Bailey, and they acted more
Yes.
towards, but they were very, very unsettled.
Yes.
And yes, Bailey particularly was way too big to be in a bassinet. And anybody that follows WOTBaby, I say all the time, once babies reach 6 to 8 weeks, they're aware of their surroundings, and they're aware of stimulation, and stimulation produces more stimulation, or it encourages more stimulation. So if they're in a bassinet and they're big and they're moving a lot because they're unsettled, the bassinet moves with them. The bassinet then causes stimulation and the cycle continues. So I think one of the first things I suggested was put them into a cot even before I got there.
Yes.
And I think I remember you went to the pediatrician, or had an appointment with the pediatrician a couple of days before I came to you.
Just the day before. We had a busy week. We had pediatrician on one day, and then booked for you to come visit the next day.
Yeah.
So the pediatrician, we spoke to them, and it was our first time seeing them because they're preemie. They also had to have their hip ultrasounds done.
Right.
And that all came back fine. But then obviously we spoke to them and told them the symptoms of what they were having. And he said straight away, Evie's definitely has reflux.
Did he watch them feed?
He only watched Bailey feed. He didn't watch Evie feed. He only watched Bailey feed, and that was purely because I had taken videos of both of them, of course, as evidence, because obviously when you go to any doctors with a child, they always pretend they're angels, and nothing ever happens. So we took videos to make sure we were well prepared and didn't want to waste the appointment. And so Evie, we just outlined what she was having. He did a check all over. No feeding was done in the appointment.
Okay.
And he said straight away reflux for her. But
because of her positive.
Yes, and he said it's just a case of that she's a happy chucker. She doesn't have any pain. She's just does it, and away she goes and goes to sleep. And I said, well,
did she sleep? No.
Case. Yeah, like I said, well, at the
time.
Sleep?
Did she sleep? Was she?
Yeah, she did. Once she was a funny little girl. She even if she threw up, she'd just go straight back to sleep.
But how long would she sleep for?
Oh, she still slept. She slept less than Bailey. She'd sleep for about 3 hours. That was about it.
Right.
Not really anything.
Are we talking at nighttime or during the day?
Nighttime.
Yeah. So what happened during the day? Was she
cat napper? She would go to sleep after vomiting, but she'd only do about a 40-minute, the first sleep cycle.
Yeah, exactly.
That was about it. She'd still go to sleep on her own though, because we have twins. We knew from the get-go how we're going with our older child. We got into the habit of soothing her to go to sleep. Not so much at night, but during the day. So
I remember you saying that you wanted to get them self-settling.
So we knew from the get-go how we're going to do this. We can't soothe them ourselves. We just don't have the arms to and be able to do that. Yeah. So we knew from the get-go we'd have to get them to more self-settle early on.
Yep.
Which is managed.
But Bailey at the pediatricians, what did the pediatrician say about
Bailey? That was Evie. So then for Bailey, we gave him the symptoms. We purposely only fed him half a bottle before going to the pediatricians, and to make sure we fed him the other half of the bottle in there to prove to him the irritability we wanted to show him, the movement of the head and face and arms, his congestion as well when he's drinking the bottle. So of course he did the check all over and everything like that. We fed him. he said that he would think that it's a case of he's got colic, which he said most babies do in the early days, will have some form of colic. And he would think that he's got silent reflux. So for us, we said, well, what do you recommend for both? He said, well, they'll clear up on their own because they're young, but because it could be silent reflux, which could be inflaming his voice box and nasal passages with the congestion, I'll put you on Losec medication, but you should see a change, he said, within 48 hours, but stay on it until we have a chat in 2 weeks, he said, and see how they're going. So we did that, got the prescription filled and did that. With Evie, he said, because she's more of a happy chucker, he declared, although she could go on the Losec as well, he said, but it's more so for the pain and inflammation, not so much. It won't stop the vomiting, the positive. He said so he wouldn't recommend it for her because she doesn't seem to have, she's not alarmed by it when she does it, which is true.
So did he mention anything about the formulas they were on, or?
We asked him a question because we wanted guidance on that, because we had changed so often and couldn't find the key to fixing. We showed him his latch and everything. He just said, oh, he must have a weak latch. He said it could just be from the silent reflux, his throat, like the acid or something causing that. And so we said to him, what formula do you recommend? Like what is best? And he said, well, really, they're mostly all the same. He said you could just try a thicker one, like a thickening agent in Evie's one, to see if it will stay down. But with Bailey, just continue on as is, and
because it wasn't a food intolerance as such. It was more reflux and things. So that's why he was saying they're pretty much the same in terms of giving the babies the right amount of nutrients that they need. So there are formulas out there for reflux, for babies with food intolerances, lactose intolerance and other things, dairy intolerances. But with reflux, they can be on a normal formula. There are normal formulas, and then there's formulas that are then designed for reflux, which are supposed to support reflux, but whether it makes much difference.
Well, we tried them all: constipation, colic, reflux, all the ones that have stated those things of all the formulas we had tried. So that's why I was keen to see what he was going to say with what formula, because I felt like we tried the whole range.
Okay, so then I came along the next day.
So the next day we started the medication the day that you came, but you came along the next day, so we had, bang bang, something the next thing happening.
I think I came in the next day and said completely the opposite of what the doctor said.
So you said at first when you came in that you could, that you'd see how the babies would go with the reflux and see what they're like with their feeding, that you'd concentrate on that first, and then the sleep, because they were already sleeping when you arrived, for their first nap in the cot. That we'd started. You advised us to change our bottles to the pigeon wide neck, which we went out and got that night before, and also the slower teat. So
I think it went from a medium teat right back to a super slow, the double S.
It's pretty much the first size that you can get, which is the one that we purchased. So we got those bottles and teats ready, and then you had good old Bailey to start with when he woke up to feed, to check. Well, he was the worst feeder as such. And then I had Evie, and straight away they both took to the bottle fine, which is a surprise, because I must admit my husband and I were very skeptical, because purely for the fact that we had tried so many bottles, we had tried so many teats, we had tried so much formula, To us, we were forever going to a chemist or supermarket to go try and change something.
Mhm.
And so we were skeptical at first, but they straight away they took to it. Even Bailey took to it, and he had no. He was making out that we weren't telling him the.
I absolutely believed you. Absolutely believed you.
He wasn't dribbling
But the
at
reason
all.
why, you tried so many different things and it didn't work, I don't know, maybe you weren't being consistent or not, but I believe that you tried a zillion things. But the reason why it didn't work is because what I encouraged you to focus on and what I focus on is the flow of the food that they're taking in. So we have to look at the baby's development, the fact that sucking is a true reflex. It's a reflex that human babies are born with. And this reflex is one of the most important because it makes sure that they get fed. And when we're looking at babies and, breastfeeding, let's say, babies who breastfeed are on the breast, milking the breast, and can feed for up to, an hour when they're a newborn, up to 40 minutes when they're a little bit older. And they get a certain amount of sucking time. And when babies get a certain amount of sucking time, when it's a reflex, then they're much happier. It's like an exercise. It's a reflex. It needs to be satisfied. It's an urge. So if they're just drinking from a fast teat and they're not sucking and using that reflex, then they will be unsettled and unhappy. And the other thing that we were focusing on that you might not have been focusing on was their latch. And again, the development of the babies, they need a latch that is more like it replicates the latch of the breast, and they're using their whole mouth and they're making a K shape, and that the seal around the teat, if there's milk coming out, then there's air going in.
Yes.
So if a baby doesn't have a good latch, then that's not going to happen, and they're going to suck in a lot of air and the milk's going to dribble out. So we need a nice wide neck teat. And, I recommend the pigeon all the time for these kind of feeding problems and for those reasons. So younger babies, they need the wide neck teats, unless, of course, they're a preemie and they feed okay on the slim neck teats. They're also wonderful. And you could have possibly put Evie on the slim neck teats, but just a slower one. You keep looking at the monitor. Are those babies awake?
Yeah, no, not yet. That's still.
Okay. So it really depends on the baby because they're all different. But the issue that you were having was that your babies weren't latching. Evie was positing. We thought that Bailey had silent reflux and was fussy during his feeds. And they also weren't sleeping, which is normal. Catnapping is pretty normal at that age. But they weren't sleeping, and not for long periods at night. And Bailey was 6 kilos plus when I came to see you. So it wasn't as if he was hungry. He was just, so we slowed the feeds down and we got their latch right. And from the very first feed, what happened? They were better.
Oh, straight away, he wasn't irritable. It was like he got all the milk that we were giving to him, at least.
It was much, much slower, wasn't it?
Much slower. He was taking long, especially Evie too, because we declared was more of a guzzler. She was taking longer to process, like get it down, but not too much longer. Like it wasn't like we're waiting ages to feed.
No. But she was actually sucking and working for the milk.
You could hear Bailey like sucking and working for it. Like
the other thing we did too was we did the old tricks that I know of, where we made sure that the cap of the bottle was nice and tight. We gave the bottle a little bit of a squeeze, so you squeeze the air out of it. And
we squeeze it now. Yeah, that was a good trick.
Yeah, and it's so when they're really hungry at the beginning of the feed, it slows it down so the milk's not bouncing off their bellies.
Yes.
We also I fed Bailey sitting in a little bit more of an upright position. Yep. And the other things that we did was we worked on their sleep and we worked on routine. So within that routine, you started to give them quiet playtime in an upright, and I think you went out and got some
Yes.
Little baby beyond seats to sit in.
Yeah, we had swings to
Yeah.
begin with, which was our only real upright as such thing for two babies, two
Yeah.
separate ones. But they still sunk down quite a lot in them.
Yes.
And so we went out and got the bouncers, which are more upright positions. So they're still using the bouncers today. Yeah.
That's right.
And it's been great.
So a lot of people with babies with reflux, we're advised, you know, to keep our babies upright for 10, 15 minutes before we put them down, or after a feed before we put them down. And so quiet play is and with twins and a 3-year-old, it's virtually impossible to, after every single feed, hold them upright in your arms.
Yes.
So giving them quiet play in an upright position, so the baby beyond little chairs are perfect for that. It gives them time to digest, and it also gives you time to recognize and to see that your babies are quite relaxed and happy after the feed and before they go to bed. So you're checking off all the little checklists.
Yeah, definitely.
So then with all of that put together, the WOTBaby routine, looking at their feeding, changing the teats and the bottles, did you go
Because
back
that's the other thing
to?
that we suffered with too. Like if prior to you coming out, we, as soon as they'd wake up, we'd feed them.
Yeah.
So there was no like there was a tiny bit of active play, like on their bellies, like or just in our arms as such, cuddling or tummy time, and or looking up at like the little baby gym equipment things, but not much. As soon as they'd wake, they'd be
They
in
were
hysterics,
cranky.
crying,
Yeah.
screaming.
Yeah.
We'd also put the dummy in quite a lot.
Yeah. So
It
they
was
did some more sucking.
Yes, until we got the bottles ready,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
like it was a rush, rush, rush. So we were
Yeah.
very much, as soon as they wake, you could say that we were feeding straight away.
Feeding. And so
Yeah.
this is what WOTBaby and the windows of time is all about. It's about helping, it's guiding you to guide your baby. And I think I explained that to you when I was there, that your babies were waking up and they were unsettled, but were they waking because they were hungry, or were they waking and then they wanted to go back to sleep? And so you would get them up and you would feed them again. And so then in their mind, the next time they woke, they didn't kind of realize anything else other than getting up and having another feed. And
Yeah.
then feed on top of feed when they're unsettled doesn't help the question reflux or unsettled behavior. And then feeding them as soon as they wake doesn't help with, as their brains are developing, help and guide them to resettle, or to know that it's time to resettle again rather than it's feed time. So it's what we show them over and over again is what they learn. And so it becomes this vicious cycle with little babies. So they really need, yes, older babies, we can guide them. And I'm sure that you're seeing that with Bailey and Evie now as they're getting older, that they actually you can see that they know what's coming next. And they're a little bit more aware. But littler babies, they need our guidance to be able to do that. And so I think, yeah, it all put together, creating a better sleeping routine for your babies and helping them with actually how they were feeding and routine and more sleep
Yes.
together. How long was Bailey on the medication for?
Bailey was on the medication for about 2 weeks.
Yep.
We didn't see a change at all, like with the medication. We didn't see a change with his congestion, or any fussiness or anything. So we decided, well, just before the 2 weeks, that we'll just take him off it, because for us it was just like
But within that 2 weeks, he had become more settled, was feeding better. How were they sleeping?
Yes, they were asleep. We took him off because we saw no change. And to us, after you had come that day, he was, the latching was amazing. He was latching,
Those
sucking.
pigeon teats are great for
Yeah,
latching.
he was drinking. He was like from 24 hours after you visited,
Yeah.
both of them were happy babies.
Yeah.
Not fidgety, not irritable. They were getting their food. They
Fantastic.
were relaxed in the quiet play. Like they were
Yeah.
just happy to sit there,
Yeah.
just relaxed. During a nappy change, they weren't screaming; they were just relaxed. And Evie and Bailey would have been overtired immensely when you came because they were only catnapping, really, and not doing any long overnight stints. So they definitely weren't following really any windows of time because their routine was all over the place.
Snacking and napping and snacking and napping and
Pretty
filling up
much,
bellies more and
pretty much with the tiny bit of play or a bit of a pram walk in between there, but that's about it.
so you took him off the medication, so they became nice and settled, were feeding better. Did the positing settle down for Evie?
Yes. So like within 24 hours, really, like from your visit, Evie wasn't showing overtired signs. She was getting her enough sleep, or catching up on sleep, I should say. She had slowed down a lot of her positing of her throwing up of milk. She even to this day, has not done any projectile vomits since you visited. Like, not at all. We have taken the towel away from under her head that she laid on in case she did wreck another lot of sheets. She has not done anything. She burps after every feed, of course. She stays upright.
Yeah.
She the tiniest maybe dribble that will come down of a little bit of milk.
Yeah.
Other than that, she has not had any typical reflux symptoms.
So the
That she,
pediatrician's right that yes, that they grow out of it and that they become more mature, their tummies become more mature, and that's true. That like as a newborn, it can be quite severe, and then as they get a little bit older, their symptoms can. But just the difference from that first day of changing, while she was still basically a newborn because she was preemie, so all of those changes did make such a difference.
oh, and even for Bailey, where we thought he had colic, we thought we had
Yeah.
silent reflux.
Yeah.
There was like no milk coming
And
out. There was
he
no
didn't have
sleep.
silent reflux. He didn't.
No, not by like not by how he acted within that 24 hours since your visit. No,
Yeah.
he,
And so medication does have its place, definitely. There are lots and lots of babies, but I don't think as many as we think. Reflux can be misdiagnosed. It's quite easy to misdiagnose it. Unsettled behaviors, overtiredness, snacking and napping, the fact that you're so tired, the fact that you had two babies, the fact that you had a 3-year-old as well. There is a lot going on. The fact that you were changing formulas, all of those things
yeah,
that created a tsunami of unsettledness.
yes,
And
yeah,
so to pinpoint, so, well, it's because they have reflux. So what I tend to do is go, well, let's look at what's happening with feeding, with sleeping, with settling, with routine, and let's see if management alone can alleviate the symptoms of reflux, and then there's not a need for medication. And so, yeah, I'm really happy that are they sleeping at nighttime?
yep. Sleeping at
I know
nighttime.
Bailey's he's a little bit of a light sleeper, but we'll
Light
resettle with
sleeper.
a bit
Evie
of a crack
sleeps
for you.
happily all the way through. They're in the same room in separate cots. He doesn't, even if he wakes or she wakes, they don't wake each other. And they're self settling. They go in awake, drowsy. Yeah, we open the blinds and say good morning, and they're happy. They smile, they wake up, they stretch.
So beautiful.
There's no screaming.
It
Uh,
should be. It's the
everything.
way it should be. And and then you deserve, particularly with all the workload that you have, you deserve sleep. You deserve
Yeah.
to have that. You deserve to see your happy babies in the morning. You deserve to put your tired babies to bed at night and know that you can then go and put your feet up. And
Yes.
it's an absolutely beautiful thing to want that, to search for the right advice to help you achieve that. and to work at it, because it didn't just happen, did it? You had to put it all together and
Yeah,
you had to stay consistent.
definitely. The
But
feeding, the feeding was a massive change, and that was onset to the having a routine in place, with having enough wake time versus having enough sleep time has really balanced the twins out
perfect.
great. Like they're going
So
stronger and
good.
stronger each
I'm
day.
so happy because when I saw them, they were extremely unsettled. And
Yes.
when I met you and your beautiful family, you were all very, very tired.
Yes, we were very tired. We actually sleeping in our bed, like, and not sleeping on the lounge. Everything has changed. We have enough time with our toddler now. When the babies go to bed at 6:30, we can have time, eat dinner together with our toddler before she goes to bed, and then have our time ourselves.
Now you can go back and tell your pediatrician this lovely story.
Yes, yes. Like it's been a huge change, like huge change. And it's a fact that we can now, yeah, have time to fit everyone in, like and give everyone enough quality time too. So
And you don't have to pay for or go out and get medication for Bailey. You can
yes, and that's a good
enjoy
thing.
your babies. Yeah,
Yes, that's
absolutely.
right. And at the end of the day, they're not positing any formula back up and in any form. And you can just tell that they're happy babies now, like very happy.
Well, I am so happy and grateful that I had the opportunity to come and help you guys
Yes, thank you.
and to get beautiful Bailey and Evie sleeping a little bit better and
Yes,
a little bit happier. So, well, a lot happier. So,
yes, definitely.
I'm very grateful that I had that opportunity, and I'm happy that you're all more settled and sleeping.
Oh, yes, definitely. Definitely. So are we, especially now that my husband's gone back to work.
All
I
right, now it's all
I can
you.
manage. I feel like I'm managing with 3 kids under 3, which wouldn't have happened without you coming to help.
Oh,
So,
I am so grateful. I'm so happy for you because it's the way it should be. It's hard work, so we need
yes,
to enjoy the good bits.
definitely. Definitely.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us today on the What Baby Conversations. This is going to help so many mums and dads out there with babies with reflux. Even if they have true reflux, these techniques and tips and things, or just being aware of these things can really help as well. And it's also going to help parents with twins.
Yes, definitely. Definitely.
So thank you so much, Leanne, for talking. And
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.